Tropical systems here on the 7th of November 2019 in the Western Pacific. First, we have Halong, which did peak at about 160 knots, sustained according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. JMA actually had the pressure down to 905 hectopascals at one point. Beast of a storm. That's moving towards the north and east. So good news there. So I'm really going to concentrate the bulk of this update on our storm system Nakri, or I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Quiel, located towards the west of the Philippines. Center of circulation still well offshore. Key thing, this is actually interacting with a front back here towards the north, and with that it's really helping flare up a lot of thunderstorm activity across northern Luzon. And actually been getting some reports out here in Cagayan. The rain has been pretty much non-stop for about 48 hours now. There already has been some flooding taking place. I know down towards the south central Luzon really needs the rain. It's been exceptionally dry, so very parched conditions across many of these areas. So the rain is welcome to a certain extent, but when you just get too much, it can cause that risk of flooding. And with this storm system still intensifying, that additional chance, even more precipitation, thanks to that wraparound effect from this storm system, to continue to pull in that additional precipitation throughout basically the next 48 to 72 hours. That said, here's the latest track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Very slow mover at first, does continue to intensify, but they do not expect this storm system to become a typhoon, nor does the Japan Meteorological Agency. Actually, winds right now, according to them, are 40 gusting up to 60 knots. They expected a peak of right around 60, gusting to 85, just shy of typhoon intensity. But I think the big thing is that you still have that dry air kind of wrapping in from the north, and that's going to keep this storm pretty much on that severe tropical storm side, but it may not allow for a typhoon to develop. Most models also agree with that idea, but this could intensify even more. So there's the latest track from Pagasa, by the way. Really also expecting this to slowly drift off towards the west. So watching my video updates here, I do tend to show multiple agencies. That's because the Japan Meteorological Agency is definitely the WMO, the World Meteorological, the official agency, but people use all sorts of ones here in the Western Pacific. Still no consensus on which one is the best. Anyways, this is a look at the GFS model over the next 72 hours. Like I mentioned, the winds are not really the big issue. It's still that additional rainfall. These darker areas of purple indicating upwards about 300 to 400 millimeters on top of what you've already been seeing out here. So northeastern areas here. The good news is very rural. Basically around Isabela off towards northeastern Cagayan, but still some of the valleys further inland still could look at that additional threat of flooding and maybe even some landslides. Speaking of landslides, I also think that is a possibility across Vietnam. As this storm system drifts off there towards the west, it is impacting same areas that actually came from Matmo when that impacted there, and 14 were injured, one person still missing from the flooding, so ground still unstable across areas just south of Da Nang. So keeping an eye on that as well. Now, here's the big question a lot of people have been talking about for days now. What about on the back end of this? There's some more convection. Is that a possibility of development? The GFX actually kind of coming back with that possibility with this almost large monsoonal gyre type of low. The European model also very similar output, just as large kind of low pressure area that could bring some rainfall. The key thing is that this is also interacting with that front back towards the north, and that's going to keep it on the relatively weak side if it does decide to develop. With that said, it really is this big old long trough here that is the key factor in most of the activity out here across the Western Pacific. It's separating the tropics from the westerlies, extremely high jet streams up here, so no tropical activity across Okinawa or anything like that expected in the near term until this lifts and weakens. That tail end is going to develop that and could develop something there, and then of course it is kicking Halong off towards the north and east. So a lot going on here. But this is definitely number one for me, is over the Philippines with that rainfall wrapping around and causing that flooding in northern areas of Luzon. Alright guys, that is all for right now. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please let me know. Hey, also let me know if you watched this video all the way through. I always appreciate that feedback. And guess what? WesternPacificWeather.com is back online. If you were unaware of that, please go do check it out. out. Not only that, but I got a lot of different little pages, some stuff I've worked on over the years. So good news, I got a lot of this stuff back in. And not to mention my links page, which I think is the best part of this. If you scroll down the bottom, it's links to everything I use and all of these video updates, and I think it's exceptionally useful. Anyways, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please post them down in the comment box below, like I said, and yeah, bye.